School choice, school choice. Oh, and have I mentioned school choice? Today we're going to be talking about that new law, what it does, what's going to happen in the future with it. We'll be getting into that, but that is not all because there's so much happening in the news. The Met Gala just happened. At the end of this week, the Papal Conclave starts, and then there's all the other pop culture stuff, movie releases, re-releases. Oh, and of course, the very scary woman sphere that The Guardian was talking about. And we're going to get into all of that. It is time to spill some sweet tea. Welcome back to the Sweet Tea series. My name is Ariana Guajardo. I'm so glad you guys are joining me today. Took a little bit of a break whenever I traveled a little bit. I'm back. Sessions happening. Stuff is crazy. And we have school choice. And here to talk to me about that is Mandy Drogin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Mandy Drogin, you've been on the show a few times. And if you guys don't already know, she's a campaign director for Next Generation Texas. And she just likes to describe herself as just a mom.
Just a
She's
mom.
here to fight for kids to have better education. So school choice is law. Whoa.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
How many years in the making is this?
36 years in the making.
Yeah.
36 years ago, the Texas Public Policy Foundation was founded on the very principle of education freedom and delivering school choice to Texans. And we have finally reached that goal. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. We are so excited to be able to offer parents of Texas, give back to them, which is rightfully theirs, the ability to select the best educational environment for their kids. So it's an exciting day for all Texans, and everyone should be really excited.
Yeah. So as we're recording this, it's still 2 days away from actually being on the governor's signing. But by the time y'all are watching it, we'll have both been at the mansion, get to watch it happen. How did you feel whenever it passed through the House? You've been working on this for so long. Mandy is known around the Capitol and around Texas as the school choice lady. How did you feel?
Yeah. Gratitude. It was gratitude because I say this all the time. Look, my kids are in an amazing classical school that I got to choose. I picked the school. I was able to pick up and move to a home to send them to that school. Right. And I very much believe that every single parent should have that option as well. No parent should be forced to send their child to a school that doesn't align with their values, that is not preparing their child to launch and be successful. That's what every single parent wants. So I can vividly remember it was at 2:06 a.m. When the House voted to pass Senate Bill 2, the Education Savings Account bill. And we were standing there in the gallery with parents from all across Texas that came in, of course, coalition members and allies, and we stood up there, and several of the members looked back right before they did it, and they hit that button, and it still kind of brings tears to my eyes because I just feel gratitude. The gratitude that I feel that the leadership of the governor, who said, this is a mission that I am going to embark on, and I will not stop until we deliver freedom to parents. The gratitude that I feel for the Senate for moving it fast, passing it multiple times, continuing to come back to the table, have the conversation, and pass it. And then, of course, the legislators, the 86 who said, we are going to do the right thing for the families of Texas. We're not going to listen to the establishment. We're not going to listen to what I call the big ed cartel, those that steer 60 cents on the dollar out of the classrooms from our teachers. We're going to empower parents. And education savings accounts are so important because not only do they deliver a lifeline to parents who are not happy with the education being provided by the school that's dictated to them simply because they live on a specific street, but it also empowers the parents in the public school. I've had this conversation with public school parents so many times who are incredibly frustrated by the school that they're sending their child to, whether it's they're handing their kindergartners or their elementary students iPads and doing most of their learning on there, whether it's that they're not teaching reading based on phonics, or the bullying, or the IEP that's not being met, or the hypersexuality and the LGBTQ kind of push that's going on in our classrooms, where you have flags flying on our flagpoles, where you have them hung up in the classrooms or on the fencing outside. Parents have had enough of that. It really does give them the agency to go in to their administrators and say, hey, we're going to focus on the basics. My kid knows how to read. I don't care about anybody's sexuality. I want them to know how to read. I want them to know how to do math. I want them to understand history so that they're prepared to launch into the world and understand what has made America great, what our founding fathers intended, why we are the greatest, most benevolent country that's ever existed, and how they can ensure that that continues throughout their lifetime and their children's. And all of that all of that will occur now because parents who know and love their children best have the opportunity to send their kid to another school or to tell their administrators, I'm going to another school. And it is a win-win for everybody across the board in Texas. And it's going to be great for the kids now that'll utilize it and the next generation.
Yeah, I'm just so excited for both parents and kids and just seeing the way that I really hope that Texas education continues to move up. I'm tired of being behind everyone else and excited for Texas to
That's right.
step into a leadership
laid out a
position.
prediction where I said I think it'll take about 15 years and Texas will be up at the top. I would not surprise me. In fact, I expect it to happen that we're going to be number one in the country for education because this delivers freedom and it really does incentivize all schools to get better because they now have to compete for students, and that is a great thing for Texans.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it's going, and later in the episode we'll be getting into some of the background, the history behind how we got here and what can come after that. But first, we have some pop culture stuff to get to and some news because there's been so much happening. One of the things has been in theaters. There were 2 movie re-releases in the last few weeks. One of them was Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 Keira Knightley version, amazing, and the other one was Star Wars Episode 3. Which for me are like foundational movies for my life. And I know we talked a little bit beforehand. Those weren't I guess those weren't ones that had like founded who you were as a person. But I saw this one meme on Instagram and it had like the movie poster for Pride and Prejudice on one end and the one for Star Wars Star Wars Episode 3 on the other end. And it said, "This is a spectrum of girlhood." And I'm like, I think I'm the entire spectrum of this right now. Anyway, it was a great... Both of them were wonderful. It was awesome to see it on a big screen because I missed that. But you had also mentioned that there's another movie release happening soon that you're excited to take your kids to. What is that?
Yes, it's called King of Kings. It's by Angel Studios, and it's an animated movie. And so I have littles. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So the 5 and 3-year-old have never been to the movies. I have spared moviegoers trying to keep kids corralled for more than, an hour at a time. But I think we're at the point where we can go and enjoy this family movie that is getting rave reviews. It is, of course, about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so it just, we try and make sure and introduce them to as many fun and animated series, but that really does align with our values. And so Angel Studios, time and time again, they put out great content for kids. So very excited to go and get some popcorn and share that experience with my kids.
Yeah, are the younger two excited to
They
go
are
to the
very
movies for the
excited.
first time?
Yes. In fact, so it's funny because I've been saying we need to get past, they knew it was coming out. We knew it was coming out a while ago. And so I kept saying we have to get past passing the bill. And so my children kind of know a little bit about the legislative process now because when it passed in the Senate, they were like, is it done yet? And I'm like, no, baby, we got to go, to another, got to get through the House committee, the House Public Education Committee. So each step, they're like, can we go see the movie? So finally they know that it's happening soon. And it's like, it's going to happen the day after the bill is signed into law, which will be on Saturday, 2 days from now, which of course will already have occurred by the time this airs. So I am just very, very excited about being a part of that signing ceremony for this historic moment for Texans. And my kids are excited because they know that it's a big win for Texas kids. They know that mommy works and advocates for all parents to have the choice of where their kids go to school like we do. And I think they're more excited about going to the movie.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Select some treats and just sit and maybe relax a little bit.
That's amazing. Well, I'm glad that do you remember during COVID, there was that weird year afterwards where no one knew if the movie theaters were going to come back, how they were. I'm glad it's back. I'm glad I saw my re-releases and I'm excited for your littles to get to go and see it.
Yeah.
So one of the other reasons why it's awesome to have you on the show is you're actually a mom. And it seems like a lot of what you do, it's a lot of work, like keeping up with the legislative process, trying to work with different people, meet with them. There's just a lot that goes into that kind of role. And it's really impressive the way that you're able to not just balance your family, but use that to, I guess, push you forward, which is really inspiring for me. But not everyone gets that, specifically The Guardian, because they had this article. Oh. And I don't think you've had a chance to read it yet, so I'm going to get your reactions.
Okay.
So the article is called, "Now Comes the Woman's Fear, the Anti-Feminist Media Telling Women to Be Thin, Fertile, and Republican." Let's start there.
Where's the lie?
Yeah, that's the part where I'm like, Okay, cool. I don't know.
I would say healthy, right?
Yeah.
Women should be healthy, and having babies is the greatest joy in the world. And so I do. I have babies. I have 3. If God gave me more, I would welcome into my life. Yes, having babies, and that is yes. I work late in the night. I get up early in the morning, and everything that I do is because I love my children. And I think that I talk about this a lot, especially when I'm out speaking and doing events. And I bring up something that happens when you have a child. And it's a lightning strike of love. And it happens as soon as you first hold your baby. And it's the most powerful. I mean, it transforms your heart, but it literally transforms your mind. I mean, your brain starts to rewire when you have children. And that's a good thing. God made that intentionally, because no longer are you living for yourself. No longer is your goals about what you want. It does. And that is, it's not a sacrifice in the sense that no longer do I care about going out and eating the fanciest food at the fanciest restaurant, or even, trying to travel the world that I had the benefit of doing before I had children. It is all about my kids, wanting to raise my kids to be the very best that they can be, to reach their goals, to use whatever talents and gifts that God gave them so that they can live a fulfilled life. And I'm not in any way saying that people who don't have children can't have a fulfilled life, but I am saying that if you question it, there's been a narrative for probably a decade, maybe more now, that kids are, bad, kids are expensive, kids are hard, kids are whatever. Hard and expensive, yes, they are. But there is nothing more fulfilling than doing for your children. And so everything that I do professionally is for my children. And I, am blessed to work at the greatest think tank in America, where I can vividly remember when we started the conversation about whether or not I would come and work at TPPF, I said, you're going to have to be flexible with me. I will work hard, I will work a lot, and I will do everything it takes to win this mission. But I will always put my children first. And you will have to understand that I need to get my, preschoolers to preschool, and I need to be at this or that. And there has never been a chance where I have had to choose. We have always figured out a way to work around my schedule. And I think that good businesses, good organizations that are family oriented, and to be perfectly honest, that are run and operated by Christians who understand that mothers need to be heavily present and involved in their children's lives, and that working around that doesn't mean you get less. Oftentimes it means you get more of a woman's service, that will benefit everyone. It benefits the organization, the company, but it benefits society as a whole. So yes, I would say that The Guardian talking about being, I would take issue maybe with the word thin. I think that is subjective. I would say healthy, right? We want families to be healthy. We want a mother to be healthy. We want her to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, emotionally healthy. So absolutely. And to have babies, yes, have babies. There is nothing more fulfilling in life. Go to school, get an education, find a good man that wants to be a protector, a provider, and a partner to you, and have babies with him. It is a great thing. Being a mother is the most wonderful gift that I have ever been given by God. And I am so grateful for it. So the narrative that, having kids destroys your life, or having kids is anything but an absolute gift, is false. You are setting people up to be miserable, particularly when they get out of their 20s and early 30s, when you've traveled the world, when you've spent your money on designer stuff, whatever, when you've gone to all the bars or had all the cocktails or whatever it is that you do. Have babies. Have them. They're great.
One of the things that I like that you were mentioning is kind of that tie between your kids and then how that motivates your work. And I feel like that's where The Guardian went wrong. So there was one quote where, well, to begin with, they were talking about people like Brett Cooper, Alex Clark, Allie Beth Stuckey, Evie Magazine, which is like for magazine for conservative women. And it seems like this one quote here that I'm about to read highlights their misunderstanding of like conservative women and why we talk about children and what those roles are. So it says, while women behind these outlets have different styles and tactics, they're mostly aligned in their desire to return to a gender essentialist worldview. Women as submissive homemakers, men as strong providers. And I think what that misses, like there's the element of like, well, yes, I do want like a properly ordered society. Like you were saying, it's important to have a helpful man, but that's but the question is why. It's not just for like the end goal of like of being at home for the sake of doing that. It's for the sake of your kids, and that influences like your work sphere. So it's not about getting women out of being part of society and being locked away. The whole thing is that it refocuses your mindset and why you're doing what you're doing. Yes. And I think that like changes people's worldviews.
It does. And this goes into a broader conversation. And I say this, look, I think, well, there's a lot of words that people could probably describe me, alpha, dominant. But my husband is my ultimate protector and provider. Now, let me be clear. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to advocate for what I want to happen in our family, but I will ultimately defer. But in the converse of that is my husband adores me and wants me to be happy. He is grateful to all that I do. We say it, at holiday times and birthday parties and life part. I spend a lot of time and energy on making the magic. I have the little kids right now. So making the magic is really, really important. And that does require a man that supports that and loves that and values that. That is how mothers, we are wired a certain way. Contrary to what some people, on the far left or that are just their brains have become so open they've fallen out of their heads, whatever, say our brains are different. We are wired to do different things. And so you do need a good man. And this goes back to why education is so important and why particularly young boys should have opportunities and be in the right learning environment. It's why career and technical education is a part of the education savings accounts, is because over the past 15, 20 years, the same educrats that have said, you must do it this way, you must be this, you must have, if you're a young boy, you must have ADD if you want to, play and whatever. They've taken away recess. They've taken away the ability to get their wiggles and jiggles out. And we've medicated particularly boys, our young boys, and we've emasculated them in so many ways. We're taking away the masculine pride that is innate to men and their development. You take out fatherlessness, and that's a huge crisis. And that goes back to kind of this radical feminist ideal that I can just do it on my own, all my single ladies and all that nonsense. Like, I cannot do it on my own. I didn't make my babies on my own. I can't raise them on my own. I have a certain skill set, and I use that to be the very best mother that I can be and to raise my children in a society where we're setting them up for success as well. But yes, it all goes together. It all starts in the home and in the educational environment. And that's why school choice is so important, because it really does put the responsibility on both the parents to select the best environment and the school to say, hey, we offer what you want. And when you do that, we're going to see a complete shift in the educational system, but also in society as a whole. And hopefully we can revitalize the idea, excuse me, of the family unit. The family unit, the partnership between man and wife, mother and father, and really bring back some of the values that bring so much joy, happiness, and fulfillment to women's lives.
Yeah. And so getting here to this point now where we have school choice in Texas, who have been some of the key players in getting here, and what did that look like, especially in the most last few years? Oh my goodness.
So the list is long because this was absolutely taking on a giant. And I say that because we spent $100 billion last year on public education. 60% of that did not go into the classrooms. So that's about $60 billion that goes into entities, and some good, but a lot of them not. And I say not because there's an incentive to spend more money, as much money as possible, to confiscate as much money as possible from taxpayers, and to not focus on the things that actually teach children how to read, how to write, how to do math, how to understand history, and all of that. And so I am adamant that we have to get money into the classrooms. That's the most important thing on high quality curriculum. But this started over 36 years ago. Dr. Jim Leininger, who helped found the Texas Public Policy Foundation, he is a very, very, very successful doctor and invented several things that are used in hospitals even to this day, and other things. And he was acutely aware of some of the really, really harmful things. When I say harmful, illegal things going on, starting in the Edgewood ISD school district in San Antonio. And he will tell a story essentially of a group of boys in a high school attempting to rape a young girl. And thankfully, someone came in and broke it up very quickly. But this was not a news story. And he heard this all the time about these children who are in an environment that has been allowed to spiral out of control. And parents, poor parents in particular, that were begging for some way to get their kids out. So he started a scholarship program.
And this is what, in the early 80s?
This was in the early 80s.
Okay.
And which he spent millions on. But what he realized, and what we as a society realize, is that obviously means the entire world to those families that had the opportunity to, and at that time they were scholarship to go to a Christian private school. And it made all the difference to them. But realizing there were still millions of kids trapped in schools that were failing them on one way or another, he planted a seed that was every parent, regardless of your income, zip code, or any other factor, should be choosing the educational environment they want their children in. And that was the impetus for founding the Texas Public Policy Foundation, is recognizing, yes, of course, because the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
It's my favorite quote. I'm so glad you brought that up. I love that.
And well, that's amazing.
The hands who rocks the cradle rules the world.
It is. And so understanding what's going on in our classrooms will affect society for decades, generations, centuries to come. We are a baby country. America is so young. And when we look at our founders and their intentions and what they tried to do to set us up for success, we have, quite frankly, allowed the court to whittle things away. And so recognizing that parents who felt that lightning strike of love that we talked about, they want what's best for their children. That's parents of all demographics, of all income levels, saying just because you're poor, just because you maybe live in government housing or on the wrong side of the tracks or whatever, if you want to invest in your child's education, you want to see them in a specific learning environment, particularly a faith-based environment, you should have that right. That should not only be set aside and gate kept for the wealthy. And that was what the whole intention was. And Dr. Leonard, again, was spending millions to scholarship kids, but saw that we needed to be able to scale this up. And so that started it. And the process for decades, quite frankly, it kept growing. But a lot of times what you see is that unless you're a parent in that situation, it's, well, I'm fine with my school, or I'm happy with it, or the misnomers and the lies and the misinformation that's spread of how it could somehow hurt public school, which is not true. It kind of permeated and percolated all through across Texas. And I will say that a lot of the unions, those far leftist unions that do want to see children in their public schools where they are controlling, and that do want to, where the higher colleges of higher education have been taken over by radicals and are teaching our teachers, whether it's DEI by name or critical race theory by name or critical sexual gender theory by name, whether they're teaching it by name or just by the content that they're indoctrinating our teachers with and then sending them to the classroom, they wanted to maintain that captive audience. And they did a good job. And Texas was seen as the crown jewel because everybody knows, as goes Texas, so goes America. The publishers write textbooks for the entire country based on what Texas demands. The standards are set across the country based on what Texas does because we educate over 10% of the kids. So unions and outside influences, particularly on the left, said, we're going to focus a lot of energy and time and misinformation in Texas. It took the courage and the vision of Governor Greg Abbott. I cannot praise him enough. So over the decades, there were lots of people that at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, we carried the torch throughout the state, educating Texans on what this meant and how this affected their communities, what this does for kids. Then, of course, COVID happened. When the COVID shutdowns occurred and kids went online, it was not just a disaster in the teaching methodology that parents were being exposed to or the content that parents were seeing was going on. It was the classroom environment. You had teachers teaching with the gay pride flag behind them. You had teachers that were indoctrinating their kids with radical Marxist ideologies, even whether they even recognize it or not. I mean, heck, in Austin ISD, we just had Celebrate a Communist Day where kids all got up.
In Austin?
Yeah, right. But my point is that this has been going on. COVID removed the curtain and showed it to parents, and parents thought, oh my gosh,
right, because for the first time
happened?
They could see the classroom.
They could see it. What happened? This is not the public school that I went to. I'm public school educated. It never crossed my mind not to send my kids to a public school because I just thought I'd go to the district that does all the things. But parents saw it, and it wasn't just in radical the People's Republic of Austin. It was all across our state. Our libraries have straight up pornography. People say, really? Yes, really. Graphic novels, they are pornographic. They are teaching children how to perform oral sex and all, like, it is wild what is going on. And it's all across Texas. I cannot tell you how many times I have brought up book looks to show people this is in your rural communities, public school libraries, and they're flabbergasted, as they should be. So parents saw, and then you had the rise of the sexual predators. And look, this is happening all across the state and across the country, where sexual predators, they see that all of this hypersexuality in culture and in the schools that's being permissible, it is like a light to a moth.
And they've never had more access to kids than they do now because of the internet. So that's another issue that didn't exist.
So you've got predators that see easy access, and it's devastating to see this happen. Every single week we are seeing this happen. And this isn't happening in places that would be considered at risk or low income. This is happening. I mean, Eanes ISD just had a predator that got caught, which is one of the wealthiest. That's where, the millionaires and billionaires send their kids to public schools. The school down the street from me that my kids would go to, they had a pervert that was he was a 5th grade teacher, taking pictures of his students and using it to make AI generated pornwife.
I heard about that story.
Let's not even talk about the teachers that are sleeping with their students or whatever. It is wild what's happening. And parents have said, I've had enough. So with the rise of predators, with the rise of seeing the radical ideologies that are being pushed into our classrooms, kids doing experiments and learning based on separating them by their color of their skin or their hair color, all this radical stuff that is going on that is teaching divisiveness versus unity for our kids, and to love America and how great we are and why we became so benevolent, so prosperous, so fast throughout what we can look back in the history of the world. I mean, we are the leaders of the free world, and there's a reason, and that wasn't being taught in the classroom. So parents all across the political spectrum, the economic spectrum, the race, all of it, locked arms and got behind Governor Abbott's vision of the parent empowerment movement. And of course, then I had the great fortune to kind of barnstorm the state with him and talk to parents and educate them on what education savings accounts, what education freedom can do for them, again, if they want to select a different type of school, a faith-based environment for their kids. That became more and more apparent as we traveled to suburban and rural communities, and people came up to us. And I say this, when I talk about what motivates me, it's my kids first and foremost. But I feel and felt the weight of mothers who wrapped their arms around me and shed tears on my shoulder as they were talking about what happened to their child. I did a podcast with a mother whose child hung himself because he was being bullied because he had Asperger's. And she talked about it. And thank God her husband heard the thud, got to him before he died, and got him to the hospital. She met them there. She had been on the way to the pharmacy to pick up his antidepressant medicine that the therapist had prescribed. And look, the school tried, but the kids just were bullying him relentlessly. And she cried, and she tried to explain this to her state representative. And he just basically said, well, we don't want school choice. And it was like, I do. I want school choice. And mothers like me, or the mother who came up to me in Tyler, Texas, crying because her child's 2nd grade daughter was being exposed to radical gender ideology. And her superintendent told her, Sorry, go somewhere else. She's like, I can't afford to go somewhere else. Or the girls who have been sexually assaulted, or the mother who, Shannara Morrison, she talks about her son Gavin. She is a single mother and she's not wealthy. I would say she's poor. But she knows, she felt that lightning strike of love. And she knows that her one shot of success in life is to raise her son to be a good man. She could only afford to send him to a very low performing school. So not only was he not getting a good education, he was being bullied to the point of self-harm. These are the stories, and I can go on and on and on, that weigh me down. But they weighed me down, but they provided the fuel. Every time I would get a story shared with me at these events afterwards when the governor's meeting, I would say, tell the governor, tell the governor. And each time we went somewhere, he was more emboldened. He was more forceful in his language. He was more determined. So I cannot give enough praise to Governor Abbott, who got out of the Capitol bubble, who went out and talked to Texans, who went out and talked to parents who were just like him. And he understood their love for their child. He understood what was going on in them. And so every event, every talk with a parent, every tear that fell was the fuel to the fire of, we are not going to stop until we deliver education freedom to every single parent we've met, and every single one that couldn't make it to the event because they had to work a second job. Every single parent that couldn't make it to the event because they were single parenting and had to put food on the table. That fueled everything. And he set the tone, and he empowered the legislature. He worked with the other state leaders, and he made it abundantly clear when he said in 2023, where his resolve by the education cartel was being tested. He said, you can do this the easy way, or you can do this the hard way. And far too many legislators said, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. And he was firm and strong, and he said, game on. And he went and completely changed the face of the legislature through actively his political campaigning, and again, making it clear. We are Texas. We lead the nation, not follow. We are going to provide the best education savings account, the most education freedom to Texans. Because of that, we will change not only Texas, but the entire country. And I'm so excited that we got to have a role in supporting him in that effort. So that's kind of the overview of what happened. Parents got mad, and then they got involved. And then the governor said, let's do this.
That's amazing. And now we have school choice signed by the governor. And I'm wondering what comes after this. Like right now it's going to be, I think starting next year, right around January, February, you'll have 100,000 students are going to have access to this program.
That's right.
What comes after that? Like, are we expecting all of 100,000 spots to be filled? Like, what are you thinking?
Yes. So I expect, yes, absolutely. I expect all 100,000 education savings accounts to be utilized, and I expect there to be, quite frankly, a huge waiting list. People may not realize this. There's 76,000 kids on charter school waiting lists across the state of Texas.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yes. And that's obviously just one indicator of the desire for choice. Mm-hmm. And that would only be, just to be clear, that's only charter schools oftentimes can't grow and spread into these rural areas. And I can explain, more reasons why. But that shows just a small portion of the demand. So yes, I absolutely expect that you will see hundreds of thousands of parents saying, I would like to utilize an education savings account. And let me be clear, every single child in the state of Texas is eligible to receive an education savings account. Where you mentioned 100,000, the reason it's 100,000 is because the appropriation for the ESA is $1 billion, which will be roughly enough for about 100,000 kids. So it's limited simply based on the appropriation. But the great thing about SB2 is there is a growth mechanism, or an escalator, as we call it, in there, which says that If the entire 1 billion is used, if the 100,000 kids get it and there is a wait list, the next legislature can fund up to the number of the wait list. So it really should incentivize any parent that is saying, do I want this or can this happen? You should apply and see if you want to utilize it or if you maybe want to know that it's there in the future. So that's what I think we will see. We'll see it oversubscribed, if you will. We'll see a lot of parents who will be so grateful for the opportunity, and we'll see a lot of parents that are going to demand it for their children as well. So, and that's what we want to see. I want to see again that every single parent has the opportunity to pick the best learning environment for their child. No parent should ever be forced to send their child to a school that they don't trust, that doesn't align with their values, that their children aren't safe, that they're being bullied, that their IEP isn't being met. So there's still a lot more work to do. We'll be spending the next year not only working to ensure that the comptroller office sets everything up and is implemented and executed faithfully as to intended by the law, as well as educating families, going out and engaging with families who may not necessarily understand, what exactly it is or how it can benefit them, or educating them that, yes, you too, you and your children are eligible. So if you want to have other options, apply and see if you get it. Maybe you are one of the lucky ones, or maybe you're someone that gets it after the first year that it is in operation. But regardless, every parent should be able to select the best learning environment for their children. And that is what SB2 delivers.
I'm so glad that you brought up the growth mechanism. I wasn't aware of that part of the bill. So thank you for even teaching me something new about it. If people do want to learn more about school choice, what this bill does, or some of the parent stories that you were talking about, where can they find that? So
txparentsmatters.com. That's txparentsmatter.com, and you can see all of the one-pagers. There's lots of fact sheets that lay out why this is great for Texans, all the data and the supporting evidence of how school choice is great for states. It took Florida's low-income kids from number 33 in the nation to number 1 in the nation, where they are today. It will be the rising tide that lifts all boats. You can go get that data there. And of course, you can check out my podcast, Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. And that's where you'll see a lot of these parents, a lot of teachers, and a lot of great leaders talking about why school choice is important for Texas and why we have just passed the most significant education piece of legislation in the state of Texas, and what we can expect and hope for and make sure happens for the next generation.
That's awesome. And definitely go check out the podcast, check out txparentsmatter.com or .com, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And then also, we didn't even get to talk about the Met Gala. Obviously, it's not, we're recording this before that happens. But if you guys want to see reactions to outfits and stuff, that's why you got to follow me on Instagram and the series. That's at Spilling Sweet Tea on Instagram. And also, just another thing that I want to encourage people at the end of that week on March, or kind of in the middle of the week, May 7th, where the Papal Conclave is beginning, and there's a lot of Catholics in the world. I think it's over 1 billion Catholics are about there. And so this is a big issue, not only for Catholics, but it's something that impacts the whole world. So I invite everyone to be praying for that, for the all the people who are going to be in the conclave. Thank you again, Mandy, for being on the show and getting to talk to me today.
Thank you for having me.
Like, comment, subscribe. Please comment and put in the comments, Parents Matter. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.